and welcome to another episode of Cinnamon Stitches. I am your yarn host, Jennifer. No, you are not having some weird case of deja vu. Yes, I am showing you this blanket again. Why? That seems to be the question. I have gotten so many questions on this blanket. How? Where? Why? Okay, so I showed this blanket. This is a small, I'm going to call it lapgan sized blanket. This could be wheelchair sized blanket. And yes, a lot of you also consider this baby blanket sized blanket. It's big enough to cover a car seat. It's big enough to go over a stroller. It's big enough to be a play mat for babies. Like, this is a good size, I'm going to say toddler blanket if you're going to use for babies. This is made out of 100% cotton. I'm reviewing all of this in case you did not see the previous videos where I showed this blanket. But I had so many people asking me how to make the hexagons, how to join the hexagons, how to make the half hexagons for the edging. So I am going to show you how I made this blanket. I am not going to remake this whole blanket because, as I told you in previous videos, these are a lot of work. I'm not saying that to deter you from making a Hexi blanket, because this is beautiful and I love it. And do you have to use cotton? Absolutely not. But I'm gonna show you it in cotton again, because this one is in cotton. This would make a very nice going to the beach sit on blanket, or a little picnic blanket for just yourself or your kid or whoever, or just to wrap over your legs when you're watching TV. You know, this blanket is beautiful. It brings me joy because of all the different colors. And one thing that I was told over and over again is the yarn that I used for this was on the expensive side, and I will agree with that. I did not purchase this yarn. I purchased the white. That was from Kramer Yarn. But I'm going to show you this blanket in a much cheaper version so that you can make this at home no matter what budget you're on. If you want to buy this yarn, you can go to goodloopsyarn.com and this yarn is available for sale. If you don't have the money for a $6.50 or $7.50, $7.50, $6.50 cake, I'm going to show you a more economical version of yarn that you could use that comes in lots and lots of colors and is at the Dollar Tree. So you absolutely do not have to use the expensive cotton. Any cotton will work. Any acrylic yarn will work. Any scrap yarn that you have will work. I have an excess amount of just cotton from the Dollar Tree, so that's what we're going to use today. Alright guys, like I said, I'm not going to create this whole blanket. Please excuse my rude dogs. They decided they needed to wrestle in the yarn room. They have their rope, and they're fighting over, they're not fighting, they're playing tug of war with their rope. Well, Scarlett is pushing it in Oreo's face, and Oreo is running from her. I will say Oreo is about 7 years old, which is kind of on the old side for her breed. She is a Dalmatian Pointer mutt, and Scarlett's still a baby at 2 years old. Alright, so now there are a lot of tutorials for the hexagon blanket. I am going to show you how I make the block, and you can make these blocks. Let's bring back the blanket. You can make these blocks any size you want, okay? I made them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows in the color, and then I added a row, I think that's single crochet, of the white, so that you have the white as the border, which makes it easier to connect. You can make these hexagons any size you want. If you want to make a blanket that is just 4 giant hexagons, that would be a cool blanket. Like, you could do that. You don't have to use small skeins. You could literally buy like 10 of these and make a hexagon until you run out of yarn from this, and then sew the 10 together. You can make these hexagons any size you want. You can go until this runs out and then move on to another skein and mix it and do another hexagon, go to another skein, do another hexagon. Let me reach to the bottom of my bag, go to another skein, do another hexagon. You got 4 big ones. You tie them together, or you sew them together. You can do anything you want. You can make these little teensy tiny. If you're patient and you have all the time in the world, you can make them 1 row, 2 row hexagons, 3 row hexagons, and sew all of those together, and you will have a very beautiful project. I am going to show you the 5 row hexagon, and then I'm going to show you how to do the half hexagon. And then I'm going to show you how to sew these together, and I'm going to give you an alternative on how to crochet these together if you absolutely hate sewing. Okay, guys, let's get started. I got my yarn all wrapped up in my blanket. To start this hexagon, we are going to do a magic circle to start. I am going to give you an alternative way to do this as well if you struggle with magic circle. A lot of people struggle with magic circle. This is not something to feel bad about at all. So I'm going to give you an alternative way to start this as well. But let's start off with the magic circle because I believe in you and you got this. You can do this, okay? We're going to start the magic circle the same way that you make a slip knot, okay? Or the same way I make a slip knot. You're going to fold it like it looks like an awareness ribbon. Okay, so it's going to go up and around and down. And you want that short tail on the bottom, okay? And then you're going to pinch it right there at the cross where the yarn intersects. You're going to take your hook and you're going to go down. So you want it to go from the top through the loop down. Grab a loop and pull it up, okay? Then adjust your pinch. So now you're pinching at the bottom of the loop. And then you're going to chain 1, 2, and 3. That is going to count as a double crochet. And there's your magic loop. You are going to just crochet over the top of this tail and the circle together. And it will lock it in. And then you're going to put another double crochet. Okay. Then you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to put 2 more double crochet. 1 and 2. And guess what? You're going to chain 1. And then you're going to put 2 more double crochet. 1, 2. And then you're going to chain 1. So see, there's 1, 2, 3 sets of 2. You want 6 sets of 2. So you want 12 all together. Okay. So you're going to keep doing this. 2 double crochet. Chain 1. 2. Got a fuzz and a hair. 2 double crochet. Chain 1. Whoops. Now, if you start to get where this is closing in a little bit and you're losing your tail a little bit, just grab these 2 and slide your stitches over like that. And then you can pull your tail out and make that smaller. You want this to be sticking out when you're done with the magic loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 more set will be 6. 2 double crochet. Chain 1. Now grab your tail and just pull as hard as you can. Close that circle up nice and tight. Okay. And then we are going to slip stitch to make this a circle. Okay. And you want to go right over the top of this when you crochet. So that is how we do it with a slip stitch. Now, I'm going to grab another skein because I don't want to lose my work. And I'm going to show you how to do this with a chain start instead of the magic circle. We're going to start it with a slip stitch. The way I make a slip stitch is the same way I made that magic circle. You make an awareness ribbon, go down, pull up a loop. Except this time you just pull that tight. Okay? That's all you got to do. You chain 1, 2, 3, then you go ahead and slip stitch to that. And in the center of this circle, you're going to chain 1 to join that. You are going to slip stitch in that center hole, and then you're going to chain 1, 2, 3 in that center hole again. You're going to treat this center hole as if it's a magic loop, and you're going to put the 2 double crochet, chain 1, so that you have 6 of those bad babies. Oop. See, and that's what it looks like. You will have a hole here in the middle as opposed to pulling it tight and having no hole there. That will be the difference between the two. If you want to do a chain 3, you can even do a chain 4 if you want that hole to be a little bit easier to see. But we're going to move back to this one, to row 2. Remember, you want to lay that tail over the top and you want to crochet around it. It will lock this in so you don't have to worry about it. Now, in the top of every one of these double crochets, we're going to start the row with a chain 3. Then on top of this double crochet, you are going to put a double crochet. Oh, come on, get in the hole. Get in the hole. And remember, you want to go over the top of that tail. And then in the chain 1 space, you are going to put double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then on the top of these double crochets, and you might have to pull that back to find the hole, you are going to put a double crochet in the top of the double crochets. Every round will be exactly like this. You're going to double crochet on top of each double crochet, and then in every chain 1 space you are going to double crochet, chain 1, make sure that tail is laying in there, and then double crochet in that chain 1 space again. And then in the next 2 double crochets, we're going to put a double crochet on top of it. Apparently I'm fighting the yarn because it doesn't want to come out of the skein. All right, and then we're back to the chain 1 space, so we're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then at the top of the double crochets, you're going to double crochet. Then you get to the chain 1 space, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. You're just going to do this all the way around. Now we're back to that very first chain 1 space. There's nothing in there currently, so we are going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we are going to slip stitch into the chain 3 of the beginning of the row. Okay, that's what it should look like. Looking kind of circular right now, but don't worry. We're going to chain 3. All right, now we are in the second double crochet of the row. So we are going to go into that next one, which will be the third one. We're going to put a double crochet. Then we're going to go into that next one and put a double crochet. And then we're at the chain space. So we're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then in the next 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to put a double crochet in the top of every one of those. And then the chain 1 space, we're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now I want to point something out to you. In the first row, we have 2 double crochets and then a chain space. In the second row, we have 4 double crochets and then the chain space. And in this next row, we're going to have 6 and then chain spaces on either side. And then as you go up, you will have 8 and then 10, because you are going to add a stitch here and a stitch here in every single row. That is how you increase. That's how your circle gets bigger. So every row will have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, on and on. That is a way to keep track, to make sure that your all of the sides of your hexagon are going to be the same, as they should have 2, 4, 6. So this one will have 6, this one will have 6, all the way around. It's an easy way to keep track of your stitches so you don't feel like you're messing up anywhere. So we have 4 here, and then we have this one we added on the side, so there will be 6 again in this section. We're going to do our 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to get to that chain space, and we're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And you see how we're already starting to get our little peaks here? So all the way around, we're going to do the same thing. My arm is rubbing on the table. It's making that weird noise and it's getting on my nerves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the chain space. So we're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then the next. Hope you guys are enjoying the musical stylings of the wind chime. Every once in a while I get somebody who gets really angry that they can hear the wind chime, but it's part of the channel. It's part of my life. It will never not be there. Okay, we got back to the beginning and we did that chain space where we did single crochet or double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And if you recall, our very first chain 3 came out of that second double crochet. So we only have, before the chain space, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to put a 5th one here, and then this one will be 6. Wow, that confused me. So see, when we connect it with a slip stitch, whoop, I missed the hole. See, now there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 between the chain spaces. But now, see here, because every time we connect the row, we're going to be over a stitch because we're adding on the side. So now we're in the 3rd chain. So when you come around and you do that last chain space, you're going to have 1, 2 more double crochets you're going to have to do after the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. I hope that makes sense. We're going to chain 3. This is the same as the previous row. You're going to go into the next double crochet here. You're going to double crochet. You're going to double crochet at the top of every double crochet. And in every chain space, you are going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. I'm going to pull some more yarn. And make sure you pull back a little bit so that you get this very first double crochet. You don't want to miss that. Then we got to the chain space. We're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now, if you look here, Here's our chain space. Here's our other chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just like I said. And then the next row would have 10 here, and then 12, and then on, depending on how big you want to make your hexagons. Like I said, we're going to do 5 rows. So if you want to count your rows, you just pull it apart. See, here's the center. Here's 1 row. You just find them chain spaces. 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 row. So we are on the 4th row. Or you take the number of stitches between the chain spaces and you divide it by 2. And that will give you what row you're on. So since there are 8 here, you divide it by 2. This is row 4. Another little math thing. We're doing 5 rows with this. 5 rows. So our chain space, you guys know what to do already. You don't need my help anymore. You got this. Just going to keep on crocheting together. And you can use, like I said, you can use any yarn for this. It does not have to be cotton like I'm using. If they got yarn at the Dollar Tree that is acrylic and you like it, use it. If you got a bunch of scrap balls laying around, use those. As long as they're like the same weight yarn. Like you don't want to use like fingering with worsted weight because they will not turn out the same no matter what you do. And try to keep all of your yarn like a similar content. So you don't want to use like wool with acrylic because the wool will shrink and the acrylic will not. And then you'll have an uneven blanket. So that's why I decided to pull out these little cottons because I have a bunch of colors. I have blue, purple. I think I have all the colors. And so I have enough to actually make another blanket. Do I need to make another blanket? No. We're back to that very first, almost to the end of the row. So we're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then in the next 2 double crochets, we're going to put a double crochet. Like I said, this is row 4. We're going to slip stitch. We got 1 more row to go to make this a 5 row. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then see, now we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets before the end that we need to make sure we get all of those stitches. Because sometimes when you're doing this, a lot of times I will make a mistake and I will miss one of these because like I get confused. And if that happens to you, just you want this to have the same amount of stitches as every other section in between the peaks of the hexagon. And if you want a stronger hexagon here, like a point here, you can absolutely do like a chain 2 space instead of a chain 1 space. It does not matter to me. You will get stronger peaks. They will be more sharp pointed. You can absolutely do that if you want. Makes no never mind to me. Actually, this last row, I'll show you what a chain 2 looks like so you can see. I know you're like, now she tells me. 1, 2. So I did a chain, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on this last one, just to give you an idea, to show you what that looks like. I like the chain 1 space better because the holes are smaller. I don't like a lot of holes in what I'm working on. So I don't like the big holes. I just feel like my toes are going to poke out. And that don't sound like a good time to me. All right, so like I said, this is row 5. 1, 2, I'm doing a chain 2 this row to show you guys. So because it's row 5, this should have 10 double crochets in between the the chain spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. See? Okay, so if you look at that, you can already see the difference between that peak and that peak. So if you want to do chain 2, that's what it'll look like. Chain 1 will look like that. But again, your holes will be bigger here, all the way down. No big deal. Now we got to do 10 more double crochets in this section. I actually really like this Just Cotton from the Dollar Tree. I know not a lot of people like working with kitchen cotton. I love kitchen cotton. I have no problem with kitchen cotton whatsoever. And this is actually like crocheting up kind of plump, which is, although it does split a little bit, I will tell you that. All right, we got to the chain 1 space, but since I'm showing you what a chain 2 looks like, we're going to double crochet chain 2. Trying to give you guys as many options so you can personalize this blanket any way that you want. And you can make these Hexies any size you want. Any size whatsoever. You do it as many colors as you want. You could do this blanket with all the same colored hexagon. You could do a rainbow hexagon. So like one row will be red, one row will be orange, one row will be yellow. And so on and so forth. Make this blanket yours. Or again, this is an excellent scrap project. Excellent. All right. Going around and around. Round and round she goes. Where she stops, well, everybody knows. We'll stop at the end of the row. Ooh, me, my arm is hurting. In case you're ever watching a tutorial, understand your tutorial host or hostess is probably sitting some weird kind of way, hunched over a table with their camera in some weird position, trying to get you the best angle. All right. So that is the end of row 5. Slip stitch. That is what it looks like with a chain 2 as opposed to all the rest of the rows, which were a chain 1. You can do whichever one you want. That is how big. Let me see. Hang on one second. I'll grab my tape measure. I'm going to cut that. Tie it off. It's the end of that row. For those of you that are curious, I have no idea what size hook this is. But I'm going to say it's probably a 4.25 or a 4.5. This is just under, and if you stretch it, 6 inches across. So these Hexies will be about 6 inches if you want to do the math and figure out how big your blanket will be. My lapgan is 6 hexagons across. So 6 whole hexagons across or 4 whole hexagons with a half on either side. You will have to alternate the rows. Now, I have to crochet another one of these so that I can show you how to sew them together. So instead of doing that right now, we'll move on to making a half hexagon. So you're going to need, let me show you the blanket again. In order to have a flat side, now your top is going to be peaked. No matter what you do, you're going to have the peak and you're going to have to crochet like this. That you're going to have a peak at the top and the bottom of your blanket. But along the edges, you're going to need half hexagons, or otherwise this blanket is going to have a really weird edge and this part will not be there. So you want, and this is what I mean, this is a row with 6 across, so there's 6 whole hexagons. This row has 4 whole hexagons and a half on either side to make this a straight line. So you put a border on it or like whatever. It just looks neater. All right, so let's get started on the half hexies. Totally had to take a break. Mr. Cinnamon was calling me, but that's all right. All right, now on to the half hexagon. We are going to do exactly a half hexagon. So it should look like this when we're done, which means we're going to have a strange amount of stitches, but we got this. We can do it. All right, so we're going to start once again with the magic circle. Let me pull you guys in a little bit. I feel like I'm off camera a little bit. All right, we're going to start again with the magic circle. If you couldn't do the magic circle, you can still do the chain 3 or the chain 4 here. Makes no never mind to me, but we're going to do this as the magic circle. We're going to do it exactly the same way we did before. We are going to chain 3, and then we're going to put another double crochet. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to put 2 more double crochets, and then chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets. And we are going to pull that tight once again. Okay. Now, because we're going to have to pull this up, we want to lock this in, we're going to have to pull it up and around and still crochet over the top of it. So we're going to chain 3, and in this very first stitch, the one that we just chained out of, we are going to put a double crochet right over the top of that tail so that we can lock it in. Okay, and then in the next double crochet, we're going to put a double crochet, and then we're going to do just like we did with the full hexagon, and in every chain space we are going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then the next 2 double crochets, we're going to put a double crochet in each one of those stitches. And then in the space, chain space, we're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then in the next double crochet, we're going to put a double crochet in the top of it. And then in that very last one, which is a chain 3 space, you are going to put 2 double crochets. Okay, so that's your half hexagon. We're going to chain 1, 2, 3, turn it over. In that very first one that we chained out of, we're going to put another double crochet. And then in the next one, a double crochet. And then in the next one, a double crochet. The next one, a double crochet. Then we're back to that chain space. So we're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then you see, it follows the same rule as with the whole hexagon. You have 2 stitches here, 4 stitches here. You will have 6 here. Double crochet in each of the top of those 4 double crochets, and in the chain space you will have double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then in the next double crochets you will double crochet in each one, until you get to that very first chain 3 one. So this is the chain 3. You'll put 2 double crochets. So every row in this half double or this half hexagon will start and end with 2 double crochets, or a chain 3 and a double crochet in the same stitch. See, we still got the half going on. It's perfectly flat here. We got our points here. And the way to keep track of how many rows you've done, because you want it to be 5, just like this one, is you count the chain spaces. So we have 1, 2, 3. That's three rows, or in between the chain spaces, you take those stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, divide it by 2. That is the 3rd row. So we got 2 more rows to go. I'm going to start every row with a chain 3 and a double crochet in the same stitch. We're going to double crochet in the top of every double crochet. And then when we get to that chain space, we're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, go up to the top, double crochet in the top of every double crochet. And on and on and on she goes. And then we got to the chain space. We are going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then we're going down that other side and we're going to double crochet in every double crochet. Some of you guys should be playing a game, like count how many times I say double crochet in this video. Now we got to that last chain 3 space. We're going to put 2 double crochets. So we'll end every row in 2 double crochets. Got 1 more row to go, so we'll chain 3. Turn it over. Double crochet in that same chain space. Put a double crochet. Told you them dogs were going to get back at it. I know you can hear them. They don't know what to do when there's nobody else at home. The house is empty, so they have to have noise. They won't go outside unless I go outside with them. Because I am alpha. Well, Mr. Cinnamon is alpha when he's home, but other than that, I'm alpha. So now because this is our 5th row, and because I showed you guys the chain 2 space on the 5th row here, I am going to repeat that on this half double so that's easier for me to connect them. So chain 2, double crochet. If you want to follow that pattern, you totally can, where the last row is chain 2, so you can see those holes better. Fine by me. I'm also going to show you how to put a border on these. Now, you can absolutely attach these together as is. You do not have to put a border on. My dilemma when I do this and I don't put a border on is I don't like that you can see the thread that you use to sew these together on one or both. I'll show you that in a minute so you don't get confused. So this is our 5th row. And then in that very last stitch, we're going to do the same thing we always did. We're going to put 2 double crochet. And a cut. Tie off. Alright, so this is what your half hexie should look like. completely straight across the top, completely straight across the bottom. Your whole hexie goes next to it. Now when you sew these together, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. If you decide not to put a white border on these, that is absolutely fine. That is your prerogative. It will still be a beautiful blanket. The reason I put a border on is because when you attach these together, you're going to attach it from this point to this first stitch and from this point to this stitch, and you are going to sew or crochet here. Now we know, let me show you an example. If I take the darker yarn, it doesn't matter if I use the blue or the purple yarn to sew these up, you are going to see the thread on one or the other side. Okay. This is just an example. I'm not going to sew this up just yet because I want to show you how to do it with the white border. Now the way that I do this is I make like a slip knot here. And I tie the knot around the hook or the needle. I pull it through. And then it gets tight around your thread. And then I just sew over the top of this. Okay. Now you want to put the wrong side. Well, actually, this doesn't have a wrong side because we did back and forth. But you want to make sure when you're doing the two whole hexies together, you want to make sure you put the wrong sides together. Okay. So that, actually, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You put the right sides together. Because this is the way that I sew it up. Okay. Put the right sides together. And if you look here, you don't have to do it this way. I'm going to actually show you a couple of different options on how to do this. The way that a lot of people do is you go through here, okay, and you sew through all of the loops. Okay, you do that. I'm doing this loosely because I'm going to pull it back out. I'm just trying to show you something, okay? And then you flip it over and you see the blue threads here. Let me get you good and close. See the blue threads here. Now, if that doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother me either. But I don't like that on mine. I like having the white border between them. And I've heard other people say, use the lighter of the two colors, because then like it won't show as much. But if you use the lighter of two colors, you might see the lighter on the blue side. If you do this way, honestly, your average Joe is not going to see it because they're going to be looking at it from further away. But if that bothers you at all and you want to do a white border, I'm going to show you how to do that as well. And there's lots of different ways that you can sew these together. You don't have to go through both loops. I'll show you another way to do this. Okay, got that attached. Attach our needle again. All right. This is another way, and this is the way I prefer to do it. Now, if you take and you see, you have the top of your stitches here. So you have almost like a V shape here and a V shape here, okay? If you take the outer side loop here, and then you go over here to this outer side loop here, okay? And you attach it, oops, attach it that way. And then keep doing that to where you're just grabbing the outermost loops of that V stitch. I keep hitting. The camera is too close. You keep hitting it. There, we'll just zoom it in. I'm just doing this for, see, the outer one here and the outer one here. You grab that one, and then you grab that one. Do not grab those inner ones. The tail keeps getting in my way. Now, when you flip it back around, you don't see that back and forth loop so much. You just see a join here. Okay, so that is a much neater way to attach these to where you don't have to put a border on. You can just do color to color, and then you'll see this, but that is gonna, actually that's gonna become invisible the further along you go. You're no longer gonna really see anything there. But I wanted to show you exactly how I made mine. So we're gonna go through and I'm gonna show you how to put a white border on this. Am I grabbing the wrong string? No. I'm gonna show you how to put a white border on this. And then I'll give you more options on how to attach these. Okay. I'm just going to pull that out. Oh, come on. I tied my slip knot too tight. I got overzealous. There we go. All right, now, to put on a white border, if you want it to look more like mine, I'll give you a refresher. I put a white border on. I got some white here. Zoom you back out a little bit so we can maneuver. And this is all the Just Cotton from the Dollar Tree. All of this. Gonna make a slip knot. I like to start at the corners. We're just going to put a single crochet border on here. So we are going to attach with a single crochet. In the top of each double crochet, you're going to put a single crochet. And of course, if you want this to be wider, you could do any stitch you want here. You can do half double, you can do double. It does not make no difference to me. Make this blanket your own. Okay, so we're going to do this. And this is going to be exactly the same as if we were making just another row. So we're going to put a single crochet in the top of every double crochet. And then when you get to that peak, you are going to put single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, because we're going to use this space to mark our corners. You want to do the chain 2 in this row. You don't want to do a chain 1 because you'll have a hard time seeing where your peak is. So make sure this one is a chain 2 in between. And then you go all the way around and you just keep doing that. Okay. So you just single crochet in the top of every double crochet across. And then in that chain space, you're going to do single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Make sure it's a chain 2. Trust me, you'll thank me on that one. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Keep going around and around and around. And since I'm just doing this for tutorial sake, I'm not going to go all the way around with you. You guys got this, okay? When you get to the end of the row, you just slip stitch here and you attach it. You cut off a long enough string and then you can sew these ends in. These are all little tips and tricks. All right, and then here, for your half doubles, you are only going to put the single crochets around the outside. Do not single crochet across the flat part. So we're going to start here with a single crochet to attach. We don't need to increase on this end, so we're just going to put a single crochet in the top of every stitch. And when you get to that chain space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, Go around. The yarn just fell on the floor. Single crochet all the way across. And if you guys decide to make one of these blankets, I want pictures. I tell you guys this all the time, and only a couple of you actually send me pictures or tag me in pictures. I want to see. I really like seeing them on the Instagram or in the Facebook group. We got to that corner, we did single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then we're just going back down along. Since I showed you how to do the slip stitch method that I use, I'm going to show you an alternative that you can use as well. So let's say you get the border on a bunch of these, okay? You got the white on, the borders on, okay? Well, to make the blanket, you're going to attach it along an edge, okay? And then you get the flat part across, and then the next row over will be a solid, and then another half, and then a solid and a half, a solid and a half, okay? To attach these, you're going to want to attach it along one of these sides. So, the way that you can do that is an alternative way that you can do this, I should say. I'm going to chain one here, okay? Confusing myself. I'm confusing myself. And you flip it over. Okay, you want to make sure your corner, that chain 2 space, lines up with that first stitch there. And this is a totally alternative way that if you don't like sewing, that you can attach these with just single crochets. Okay, you just go through both layers. This is the blue, that's the purple. You just go through all of the layers. Okay, and you single crochet. And you can do this on, this is just another way to do it. There's 8,000 ways that you can join granny squares / hexagons / whatever. There's a million ways. Like, people got so many ideas of how you can do this. This is just a couple of ways that, like, when I'm feeling lazy, I made a rug. I totally made like a granny square rug a while ago. And you want to make sure that your corner lines up with this corner, okay? I got done with all the squares, and I was like, I don't want to sew these together. It's just a bath mat. So I just went through and I did this. I single crocheted along, make sure I attached. I'm fighting my yarn now because it fell to the floor. Okay, and then you want to make sure when you get to that end, you're in the corner, okay? See? So you want to be in that chain 2 space there, so your corners all match up. Okay, so on one side, it will look like this. And on the other side, it will have this ridge. If you don't mind this ridge, you can put that ridge on the front, you can put that ridge on the back, it doesn't matter. My bath mat that I made a while ago actually has the ridge on the top because I think it's pretty. I think it adds detail. I don't mind that it looks like that. However, if you don't want to do that and you want it to be nice and neat, once again, I'm gonna have to cut this. I feel like I'm just wasting yarn. Don't like that. All right. So otherwise, I'm going to go back and we're going to do it the way I initially showed you. Now we've got our stretches all stretched out. And we're going to do that join that I showed you where we just do the outer edges. So you can see what that looks like with the white. Because that is the way that I made mine. Is I just did little quick little stitch. And I don't mind sewing everything. I like hand sewing. This is actually probably my favorite part of the blanket, is just, I mean, I don't like putting the pieces together and figuring out which one's going to go next to which and making sure I don't have two of the same color next to each other. But I don't mind doing this stitching because I learned how to sew by hand sewing. So I've hand sewed a lot of things together. This does not bother me. My favorite way to do this is to put the white border on. And of course, you can follow that all the way around if you need to. Is to do that. And then that is the join that you get. I don't know why it's so loose today. It's not normally that loose. That is what your join will look like. Or a better example, now that my blanket has fallen on the floor. That is what that stitch will look like. Get you nice and close. That's what it looks like when you do the white border. So I hope you guys learned something. Now, when I got all these pieces stitched together, I just ran a double crochet border around this whole thing twice. And then the peaks at the top and the bottom, to keep the peaks looking nice and even when it goes down this way. So you're going to do, this is the original border. So this is the 10 single crochets here. And in the next row, I added a corner here. So I did at the corner a double crochet, a chain 2, a double crochet, and then I did 10 double crochets. And then at the peak, I did 3 double crochets together. So that's a decrease. That's 3 together. And then going back up the next row, we do the 10 double crochets. Okay. And then at the peak, you do an increase. So you do double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, just like you did at the peaks of all of these. And then when you get to the next, you do the 10 double crochets down, and then you do 3 together over the next 3 stitches. And then the next row, same thing. There's 3 together here, and there's an increase here. So it's double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and a decrease there. And you just do that across the top and the bottom for however thick you want this border to be and whatever color you want this border to be. I really hope this helped you. I hope this helped you all to want to create something beautiful for yourself or for a loved one. It's really, really easy. You guys can totally do this. I believe in you. You can make a crochet blanket. You can make a hexagon blanket. You can make a beautiful cotton hexagon blanket on a budget. All of these yarns were at the Dollar Tree for $1 per skein. And my white is still on the floor. I hope this has been educational. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you for listening to me babble and ramble. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns about this blanket, feel free to leave it in the description, or in the description box, in the comments below, and I will try to get to them in a timely manner by matter of importance. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.